morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the LaPorte County Commissioners to order for our meeting Wednesday, October 7th, with the call to order. You have called to order on the agenda first, so can I switch that then? Okay. We'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Matias?
Present.
Commissioner Cora?
Present.
Commissioner Mrozinski?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we would like to consider any additions, deletions, or corrections to this morning's agenda.
Madam President, I'd like to add 2 items and delete 1 item.
Okay.
The 2 items I'd like to add is leasing vehicles for adult protective services, commercial and political signs on county property, and the deletion is item 9C, which is consider request for permission to approach the council. Our HR director, Ms. Mossman, mentioned that she doesn't have all the information that she was seeking to present, so she will bring it up at a later meeting. With that, Madam President, I make a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
I'll second your motion, sir.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the amended agenda. I'm going to add under old business, I'll add political signs under there because that is old commissioner business. And then vehicle leasing will go under new business. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda, I'd like to consider the approval of our minutes for September 16th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the the minutes of the September 16th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Next, we have the consideration of claims.
We have payroll ending September 25th of 2020 in the amount of $1,184,049.61. Then for miscellaneous claims, $1,952,509.51.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. Just as a reminder about civility in public comment, the expectation by the Commissioner's rules are that all speakers use decorum. There are no personal attacks, and you have 3 minutes to speak. The other thing that I want to mention is we are within 30 days of an election, and this is not a political campaign stop. This is a business meeting, so please attend to that when you're making your comments. Are there any members of the public or anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak at this time? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John Matwishin. I'm Deputy Trustee of Hudson Township, and I'm here to address an issue that's working its way through your stack of tasks regarding vacating of a street in Hudson Township. We had plans and envisioned using that particular street to access the water for rescue purposes. Over just a short time of the last couple of years, we had a heart attack on the ice and a drowning in a section of water near that location. The current only public launch site is 2 miles away across the water, and I believe Commissioner Matias has a better understanding of how long it takes for a boat to move, make a round trip across 2 miles. I think it's like 6 to 8 minutes, and adding 6 to 8 minutes to a person suffering a heart attack or a drowning reduces their likelihood of successful revival. So that's working its way through the mill, and I believe we'll have another attempt to discuss the issue. I'd like to provide information that would aid, and I'd like to not make this a rush decision. The planning board unanimously recommended vacating the street, But I think that's a mistake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can I address that?
Yes.
Certainly.
That said on the Plan Commission, that was brought before the Plan Commission. That is the proper venue for that. Remonstrance on that is over at the Plan Commission. It was voted unanimously to approve it. And when you talk about a boat launch, there's one right exactly behind it at the yacht club. So I don't know what you're saying that there's not one there. But it's already been settled by the Plan Commission. That's why we have a Plan Commission. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Rodney McCormick, 617 Union Street, Michigan City. I had a question I had to call down to the Indiana Board of Elections, and I wanted to ask you guys. By the way, I just came from voting in Michigan City. It took an hour and a half to vote. That's ridiculous. It seemed like every day a machine breaks down, but there have been complaints about, I believe it's Jamie Oz sign in front of the complex about the size of it. I called downstate and they asked me to come here today and ask you guys, do you have an ordinance on signage? It's county property. Do you have any ordinance to say you can't put up a big sign, or what size signs you can put up, or what color the signs are? I wanted to know that, if that's possible. And then next, a while back, I asked you guys to do something about helping the less fortunate people in Michigan City by giving out thermometers to those families who are less fortunate and their kids will receive free and reduced lunches. Can you help us out? Kind of didn't get nowhere with that until I partnered up with Franciscan Alliance and Dean Mazzoni. I sent you guys an email. I didn't call no one out by name. I never talked about Marty Corley or the Ministerial Alliance. I never said who like you and who hate you. I received a response back from the representative of the commissioner, Shaw Freeman, and it was a personal attack. He said that people in this county don't like me. Even black people, my own black people in my city don't like me. I didn't know where that was going when I never addressed the email to him, or nor was I indignant with any of you guys in my email. He also went on to talk about a lot of other things about Marty Corley. No email have I ever said anything about Marty Corley. And all I asked, I sent a response and I asked you guys to give me an apology. Dr. Core, I've been knowing you for quite a while. You're my doctor, still my doctor. I see things different on the political side, but I still appreciate you and I care about you, but right is right and wrong is wrong. I'm owed an apology because I never said nothing about Marty Corley, the Ministerial Alliance. I never said nothing about anybody else, only talked about thermometers. And I don't know where we're going with this. I did a lot of work for the party and I did a lot of work for a lot of individuals. I didn't backstab nobody or do nobody wrong. I didn't deserve that email. It was wrong, it was slanderous, and it defamed me. And I'm going to take actions on that. But I think this commission owed me an apology, and I appreciate it if y'all do it, because it's the right thing to do. Oh, and by the way, can you just tell me, have we done anything about early voting? I mean, for voting, the replacement of the Teamster Union yet? It's been approved?
It's on the agenda today.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time?
Good morning. Joe Haney,
morning.
2695 West Joliet Road. Several items on the agenda here, but the one that jumps out at me is one from September 2nd that's back on the agenda for today. That's 507 Monroe Street, looking to acquire that property to store PPE. I have some concerns here about this property. One of the initial concerns was you guys need storage for additional PPE storage, especially with transition and moving things. One of the issues I heard raised at the September 2nd meeting was that some of the PPE items that you had got lost due to mold and other concerns. I heard that brought up. The property you're looking at least as far as public disclosures, as of September 1st anyway, did not have any heat or air conditioning, so no climate control in this warehouse. I'm not sure if that's necessarily such a good idea to enter into a building that has no climate control if you're looking specifically to store things to prevent issues that have been had in the past. In addition to that, I see that it's on the agenda here today to be purchased for $185,000. back on September 2nd, at the commission meeting, Commissioner Cora made a motion to explore this property and to do some due diligence as far as looking into purchasing it. Obviously today, with it listed at $185,000, I do have some questions relating to that. This property was originally listed for sale in January of 2018 for $160,000. Through the rest of the year, it was listed for $160,000. Through 2019, it was listed at $160,000, and all the way up, according to MLS records, up until the end of August, beginning of September of this year, $160,000. That's about 2.5 years on the market at $160,000, and the property did not sell. On September 1st, it was pulled from the MLS listing, and incidentally, or coincidentally enough, on September 2nd, when this commission met and Commissioner Cora made a motion to explore purchasing the property, the day before it was removed from the MLS for $160,000. Now here today, 1 month later, we're looking at, you're looking at purchasing this property for $185,000. I'm curious as to why, we're looking at $185,000 versus $160,000. It doesn't make any sense to me. And is there anything that's been done to the property in the past, 30 days that's increased the value by $25,000? Is there anything along those lines?
We'll address it when when this item is discussed.
Sure.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Haney.
All right. Thank you
you
so much. And just for public record's sake, I'm sure this due diligence was done here. This property has been appraised about $108,000, give or take $1,000 for the past 5 years. And in addition to that, in 2015, this property was purchased for $76,000. So again, we're looking at some major discrepancies here financially that just don't, at least from the public information that we have and records that we have, just don't make any sense at all.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time? Is there anyone on Zoom, a member of the public, that wishes to speak at this time? All right, hearing none, let's move on to department reports. Are there any department heads who wish to report out at this time?
Hi, Darlene Hale, LaPorte County IT Director. I just wanted to, give an update on the early voting in all 4 locations. Yesterday, I believe there was a problem over in Michigan City at 8th Street. What it had to do with, it wasn't any computers, any connection like that. The state issues little blue keys, USB keys, to the clerk. And she had the keys from the previous in June. She tried to reissue them to the other people that were currently working. Once that key is assigned, then you can't reassign it to somebody else until the state clears it. So that's what the problem was. I was able to change the way that they log in. This morning they logged in once they called me with no problems whatsoever. I know Wanata got up and running fairly quickly yesterday. As far as I know, I haven't heard from Cold Spring, so they have my cell phone number if there was a problem. And I know there were lines here all day yesterday. I believe that Dr. Cora kind of has a number on how many people voted on the first day. I can tell you on Monday, when we were doing testing in Michigan City, there were people trying to come in and vote on Monday. So they were really eager to get in there and vote. Any questions?
No, we appreciate all the work you did to assist the clerk in getting us up and running.
All right.
With 4 sites instead of 2.
Thank you.
Which is great.
Thank you. I think people definitely appreciate having additional
Yes.
early voting sites. So thanks for all the efforts you and Dan and Larry and the entire team has done to make it happen, the election board and everybody else. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Morning, Commissioners. Tony Mancuso,
Good morning.
Administrator, Health Department. Just a few updates. As you recall, last Friday and Saturday, IU Fairbanks was at our office. They did 60 tests. They had a good turnout. They were really happy. They had 20 scheduled for Friday and 30 for Saturday, and everybody showed up. So they said we're the only few counties that everybody actually showed up. So probably here in a couple weeks, they just got done with their study Monday. So here in a couple weeks, I probably will get results of their studies up here in northern Indiana. So that'll be interesting to what they find out.
Mr. Mankus, so
Tony,
this
could you-
this was a
Yeah, I
this
was
was a
gonna say-
surveillance
This was a survey.
Yeah.
surveillance
Friday.
testing,
Thank you.
not
Yeah.
not
It was
that
an
people were
invitation
sick or
only.
anything. They just randomly picked
Randomly
some
picked
people.
our
Some
county, and they
people.
went to Gary. So up in here in Northwest Indiana, they did a couple
Okay.
counties, and they just wanted to see what the turnout would be and people coming to test and what the case and how the virus is spreading.
So Tony, is the purpose of the test, if you could just capture that for the public, the purpose of that surveillance?
The surveillance is they wanted to see how the virus is spreading throughout Northwest Indiana. So what they did was they set up certain areas in the county. They invited people. It was an invitation only. They did certain tests. They did blood draws too. So I'm not a medical person. I don't think blood draw was doing. Maybe you know, but so basically, what they will find out is how the virus is spread Northwest Indiana, and basically how people in each community is going to get tested. And one, like I said, the comment they made to me was, we had most people that showed up. Normally, some counties they invite all these people, and maybe 9 people would show up both days. So that's good. So once the results come back, the test results, I'll share it with everybody.
Thank you.
I had one other question, Tony. Did they do the swabs to check for the antigen, or did they do the blood test to check for the antibodies? I think
Both of them.
they're
They did
doing
both of
this
them.
for prevalence to see
Right.
how prevalent it is in certain communities.
Right?
So,
They did it both.
both. Okay.
That's why they wanted to use our clinic for it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And actually, they didn't have the drive-through. It was too cold, so they used our office. They were happy about that.
Thank you.
Secondly, as we recall, I did hire a site manager. She started Tuesday. Right now, she is forming her team together. She's working with Larry Butcher right now, director of EMA, and they are trying to find a site somewhere in Michigan City. They went out yesterday. There was a few they discussed, but I haven't got the final say-so where they're at. And I think once they find out where they're going to go, we're ready to go. We have all the equipment. She gets her team together, and we'll be having a testing site in Michigan City. So you'll have the one still at the Civic Center, Optum, which will continue to the end of the month. We'll see if they continue. And then here in a couple of weeks, we know that Outlet Mall is going to have a testing site too. We have 3 testing sites in this county. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because some counties don't even have that. Secondly, the increase, Optum Center is just overwhelmed. They are getting, we were reported today that we got a report there was 300 people Monday and 300 people Tuesday. 600 people going through that building. But we don't know the actual count because I know Danielle, it's online. We're getting mixed counts on what's going on out there because if you recall, every day we would get the appointments, how many people are going there. I would send you an email, this was the appointments, but there's also people just show up.
Right.
So we're trying to figure that. Danielle, are you online there? Or she stood me up?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead and explain what's going on.
So what we have is Optum is slated to do 264 tests a day. So I'm not sure where that 600 number came from. They were shorted tests on Monday, and they weren't even able to start testing until 11 a.m. Monday. So if they only have 264 tests a day, I'm not sure where that 600 number came from. We are trying to figure out if we can be in the loop as to how many are tested each day at the end of the day. That way we know, did everybody really show up? How many extra walk-ins did you have? Things like that.
Any questions? And so as the numbers go, obviously the numbers going up, we're getting a lot of people being tested compared to what we did 2 months ago and 3 months ago. So that's why we see a lot of increase what's going on in the community. Plus also we got schools in session too now, and the governor lightening up the stage 5. I think that's a little too early, but that's my opinion. Any questions? Oh, one more thing is that this Friday, of course, there's flu shots for county employees at both offices. And then the following Fridays for the public. Any questions?
So can you repeat Dr. Ducey's recommendations for the public as we head into flu season around COVID
Yeah,
precautions,
get your
please?
flu shots. Definitely get your flu shots. Like I said, everywhere they offer it. At our office, we have offer it, and there's a lot of other places too. So it's flu season time. So worry about the flu now, not just Corona, but we also got the flu going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Oh, excuse me, department heads.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Madam President. It's my pleasure to be here. Very briefly, just wanted to update the Commissioners on some of the activities going on within the department, and we've distributed a written report to you, which in an abbreviated fashion highlights a lot of some of the exciting projects. But what I wanted to very clearly note for the public today is the October 21st deadline for the LaPorte County Action Fund grant submittal. And the county being extremely fortunate in having been approved for the second phase of COVID assistance. I just wanted to make it very clear that we're available to assist the small business community in preparing the applications should that need arise. They can submit either electronically or in hard copy fashion, whichever's easiest for them. And I wanted to be crystal clear in the fact we extended by 1 week period of time the length of time in which the businesses will be able to prepare that application. So it is in compliance with the U.S. Housing and Urban Development's determination of eligibility. The goal being retaining low to moderate income jobs in LaPorte County. So extremely excited about this assistance. We're here to help. Anyone that has a question should just reach right out and call, and we'll take care of them. So October 21st, 4 p.m. is that deadline. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Yes, ma'am. This is Director Butcher, Director of LaPorte County Emergency Management. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
And Attorney Freeman. Just a few things to report. My office has been working with the Michigan City Sanitation Department on their emergency drill. We did some tests with our RAVE program with their department heads, and they are very interested. We are going to do a geographical sign up for people within the area so that in the event that there's a spill, a chlorine spill, they can use our RAVE system to notify those people in that area. So I'm pretty excited about getting more people signed up for RAVE. We also met with NIPSCO or LNG on last night, and they are once again very interested in our RAVE. In the event that there is a chemical spill, the people in the neighborhood can be alerted using our RAVE system. I did get a chance to meet with Tamara, I believe her name is, the new site manager for the Michigan City. We did ride around Michigan City and looked at a couple spots. One of the spots she's interested in is the St. Anthony's garage. And that's going to take some logistical work, but I told her that I would check into it. I do know that on Michigan Boulevard, I've already been promised that site. I am going to go there today to make sure that there's an egress and wheelchair accessible, and how much room we have, and how long we're able to keep it. My goal is to have several sites, at least 3 sites in the event that one site goes down. But I do want Michigan City, and as Tony stated, the Lighthouse Mall will be doing their site at the end of the month. However, I do not know how long they're going to keep them. So with our numbers going up, I don't know if you guys know or not, but our neighboring states, if our numbers don't come down by Friday, we will be on the no travel zone or no travel warning for Indiana. That means anybody that comes to Indiana will have to quarantine for 14 days, going back to Illinois and going back to Michigan. So I can't stress enough, this thing is not over. Wear your mask, sanitize your hands, go where you need to go only, and keep in mind that this thing is still here. And the thing about it that's most scary is it's a systematic thing. This asystematic thing, we have the schools that are infected now, so nobody ever thinks that a child can get this thing but children are 40% of our carriers. That studies have proven. So with it being in our school systems, with it being in our nursing homes and hospitals, prison, I did send an email to downstate to the health department and also to our testing site at the Civic Center. I did get permission from Mr. Dermody to keep our site as long as we needed it, as long as Optum would stay. We could have the Civic Center as long as we want it. So I got that taken care of. So the building I'm talking about on Michigan Boulevard is the old Michigan Township building. And I also have met with LaPorte Hospital about a mobile trailer, medical trailer that they have that is brand new. Maria Fruth was able to pave that way for me, and I will be, they'll be pulling it out of storage and we'll be taking a look at it in the next day or so, Tamara and I. So I do not think that I have anything else to report. I do know that my PPE is in good standings. I supplied the entire county, all the county employees with PPE, and I think I'm good for the next 8 months or so. Myself and Andrew McGuire are going to meet on tomorrow to discuss the county's needs on PPE to project us out for the next 12 months. And we'll be placing our final order before the CARES Act closes down, if we need to. The state is winding down on giving me PPE, but I am going to continue to order to them and get whatever I can for free, of course. At this time, I'll take any questions from anybody, if there is any.
Director Butcher, could you do a quick commercial about the RAVE system and why it's a free service for all county residents, and why, especially as we head into the cold weather and inclement weather season, how they can sign up and what kind of information they get through the RAVE?
The RAVE system is absolutely free to anybody. The county pays for it, and you could put it. You could be contacted on 3 different venues: your cell phone, your home phone if you have one, and you will get an email. Now, you can sign up for whether you want the road closings, all the alerts, or you can sign up for just inclement weather alerts. But also, I am going to market something and put out as well. I'll be putting out where our testing sites are located. And I plan on doing that probably twice a month, just a general alert, reminding people where our testing sites are. So the RAVE is absolutely free. You can go to our LaPorte County webpage and look in the corner and you'll see a RAVE button. You push that and follow the instructions to sign up. If you have any problems at all, my number is also on the webpage. You can call me and I'll have my deputy call that person and walk them through getting signed up.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time? Hearing none, let's move on to, did I miss someone? Okay. Let's move on to requests on the agenda. The first request is consider a request to purchase a computer and to pay unused sick days for Mr. Young. Mr. Warner?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dwayne Warner, Superintendent of the Highway Department. Yes, our first request is for to purchase a computer. Since you know of the transition going on with our department, with me moving up, my replacement will require a computer. We're currently looking at right in the area about $1,500, which we do have the funding for. So if it's your, wish, we can consider approaching the council for them.
I make a motion to allow Mr. Werner to approach the council for funding for the computer.
Second motion.
So do you have the money already in your budget?
We do have the money in the budget, but we still have to run that past them just to keep everybody in line on.
Mr. Friedman, does he still have to go to the council if he has money in his budget?
Computers, I think they have insisted.
Yes, it's it's considered a 400 account.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Right. Go to the council.
Let's consider that.
And that was my motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second it.
Second? Okay, good. We have a motion and a second to approve going to the council to purchase a computer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution is carried.
And then the second request is to pay Mr. Young for the remainder of his sick days that he has not used. With his long service and everything, he's accrued quite a bit. And we just request that we can pay him for those days.
Motion to approve, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request to pay unused sick days for Mr. Young. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
A request has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, consider permission to change life insurance carriers. Mr. Jones?
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners. As you know, the county has been insured for life insurance for its employees with Grange Life for several years. I was notified by Grange Life about 10 days ago that they are no longer going to be offering the worksite product that we currently have in place here at the county. They were purchased by Kansas City Life about 2 years ago. So the products that Grange had and the products that Kansas City Life had joined, and there were several products, and they decided to eliminate this one. I've been working very hard since that time, including up till last night, to have a good backup plan for you, and I do have a good backup plan. I didn't want to rush it to today's meeting, so I'm going to request that I be put on the next agenda in 2 weeks to further vet these quotes that I've received. In fact, as of 4:30 p.m. last night, I was able to obtain a concession from one of the carriers in favor of the county. So I look to do a little more of that in the next couple days, and use the large group purchasing power that the county has to better our position. I've alerted Barb Mossman that we'll be taking new applications with Grange up until the 15th of this month, so she's well aware of that. I would like to also meet with the auditor and talk about some of the alternative plans that I'm going to present, and I'll have a recommendation for you in 2 weeks.
Okay, great. That's excellent. Can we just go ahead and put that on our next agenda?
Yes, and John's had great success, as you know, in negotiating favorable rates with different carriers, so I think giving him an additional opportunity to negotiate this would be helpful.
And as we sit now, I know what our current budget is, and we're below that. So I look for cost savings as well, as he just mentioned, that I want it to be equal or better and at a better cost. So,
well, we definitely appreciate that effort, and using that purchasing power that you just mentioned, I think is an excellent strategy.
Sometimes it takes more than the third or fourth phone call, but then all of a sudden they seem to come over. So.
Persistence.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we are going to consider the 2020 general election polling locations. Clerk Kroback.
Madam President, I have the list of polling locations that has been presented. Our County Clerk, Ms. Kroback, is busy with the early voting, so she could not be here. I think all the locations are the same except one, Michigan City 13, MC 13. The site has been changed to Southwind Emmanuel Church. Other than that, all the other locations are the same, and I make a motion to approve the list of polling places.
We have a motion and a second to approve the polling places as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bailey, can you make sure that these get posted in a real prominent place on our website so people know exactly where to vote? Thank you.
Madam President, one quick comment. Bailey, on MC13, can you put it in bold? That way everybody understands that has changed.
And on the list it says new location. I think that's an important thing as well to type that, make sure that that's listed as well, and perhaps a star or a highlight or something. Thank you, Dr. Corr. That's a good suggestion. Next on the agenda, we'd like to consider the LaPorte County Commemoration Commission. Dr. Corr, do you want to present that, or would you like me to?
Madam President, if you could.
Yeah, I'll read the draft that was created so that the public hears the complete version. The LaPorte County Commemoration Commission is created to implement LaPorte County Commission Resolution 2019-14, which codified a community effort to permanently commemorate and honor those exemplary LaPorte County citizens who, as civic, business, nonprofit, and community leaders, have made lasting and impactful contributions to our county. The LaPorte County Commission will work collaboratively with the commissioners, the county council, the Office of Community and Economic Development, county staff, and LaPorte County citizens in the creation and implementation of the Commemoration Commission, whose charge it is to propose commemorative naming and placement of memorial plaques on various public infrastructure, such as buildings, bridges, roadways, locations, and structures, as a way of remembering and honoring those admirable citizens who have given great effort, contributions, and services to our community. The Commemoration Commission will be made up of 7 citizens who are currently not elected officials or office holders, 2 citizen appointees selected by each commissioner, and 1 citizen appointee selected by the County Council President, for a total of 7 voting members. The County Planner, Facilities Director, County Engineer, and Highway Superintendent will serve as advisors if and when needed. This Commemoration Commission will use the nomination form developed and made available on the county website to gather nominations from citizens. The committee will vet, analyze, discuss, and agree to forward recommendations from the LaPorte County Commemoration Commission to the County Commission for action. The Commemoration Commission will be staffed by the Office of Community and Economic Development. This is a draft for your consideration. What's your pleasure?
Yeah.
Dr. Cora?
Yeah, I think it's well thought out. So I make a motion to move forward with it.
Thank you.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the LaPorte County Commemoration Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We will look forward to nominations from the commissioners and from the county council. If there are citizens who wish to serve on the Commemoration Commission, you are welcome to reach out to Diane in our office, who will gather names for us to consider. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider the second reading on the petition to vacate Beach Drive. Chris Willoughby.
Good morning.
Commissioners. I back again. Last time you considered on first reading a proposed ordinance which came to you based on a petition approved unanimously for the vacation of a road to Beach Drive by the Planning Commission. The road was originally platted but never used, and for decades has been maintained by the 3 neighbors who stand to ultimately split according to the law. So there were no remonstrators at the Planning Commission level, none that were, as far as I'm aware, that appeared during the first reading, and so I respectfully request that you approve it on second reading today.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes, Mr. Willoughby's accurately relayed the fact that there was a unanimous recommendation, no remonstrators previously, certainly none, but because of some of the issues out at Beach Drive, we recommended it be held over for second reading. We're recommending approval this morning.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this? Hearing none, let's move on second reading to vacate Beach Drive. Dr. Cora?
I make a motion to that effect, Madam President.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to vacate Beach Drive. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Next on the agenda, we added under old business consideration of political signs and reinstating our position on this. Since there's 2 candidates here and I am not a candidate, I would like to read the Commission statement dated today. Consistent with decades of custom and practice by the county commissioners of not permitting any commercial or political signs to be placed on county property, this motion places that policy into the minutes of the commission and reaffirms the policy consistent with direction given by the Indiana Election Division dated November 2019, requiring that if any signs are permitted, then all candidates and parties have a right to display them. If no political signs are permitted, such policy applies across the board, prohibiting all parties and candidates from placing or installing signs on public property owned by the county.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve this and have this as part of our minutes.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Before I call the vote, I want to repeat the first part of this. Consistent with decades of our custom and our practice by the county commissioners of not permitting any political or commercial signs to be placed on county property. So we are formally stating the custom and the practice that we have followed for decades of not permitting signage of any kind on commercial or political signage on county property. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Next on the agenda under new business, consider the MOU agreement between HealthLink and LaPorte County Sheriff's Department for involvement in mobile opioid response team. Sheriff?
You all right, Stan?
Just throwing things around here.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here asking for your consideration and approval of a memorandum of understanding that we have with HealthLink with their mobile response team, in which our deputies would go out to a surviving opioid overdose, and they would be with an assessment team and act as safety and security. This is an agreement that went into effect for the first time last year, and the same agreement is in effect with the sheriffs of Lake, Porter, and Stark counties. We've sent this to the county attorney. He's reviewed it, and he sees no issues with it.
That's correct.
Thank you. Has this been an effective response?
Yes, so far in LaPorte County, we've responded to 38, or I should say their mobile response team has responded to 38 survived opioid overdoses. But I should also add, the nice thing about this is they then come into the jail for somebody that is suffering from any type of opioid addiction. They'll do an assessment, and then they can provide services once they've been released from incarceration, which is really important in hopes that they don't relapse.
Great. Thank you.
Madam President, before I make a motion, I just want to make one comment. Because of the COVID situation, we have seen a significant increase in problems related to mental health. We have also seen significant increase in problems related to addiction. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, Doug Hutzinger from the state is coming to the Swanson Center in LaPorte to solidify the opioid treatment program that is in existence over there. So I think this is a good thing to do so that the individuals who have been afflicted with this problem get the help they need. So I make a motion to support it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to support the MOU agreement between HealthLink and LaPorte County Sheriff's Department. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The agreement has been approved. Next, consider consulting agreement between the county and VS Engineering. Mr. Bishop? Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Bishop isn't here.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sullivan,
Yeah.
are you able to speak to this?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you're also on the agenda for the next item.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, Jay Sullivan, the county engineer. And we have a proposal from VS Engineering for engineering services and right-of-way services for the Mill Creek sidewalk. Sidewalk runs along from the railroad to Mill Creek south where the entrance is to the park. I believe the contract's for like $58,000.
Thank you.
Mr. Friedman,
any recommendation?
Yes, no, this is the Union Mills sidewalk
Yes, it's the
project.
Union Mills
Right,
sidewalk
and we have
project.
reviewed this and are comfortable recommending it to you.
make a motion to approve this agreement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I second the motion. I got text this morning from Rich
Yeah.
on that.
He's doing good, by the way. He has surgery.
Yeah, well, he had his wisdom teeth.
He had
He's a
wisdom
little
teeth
pain
taken,
today,
yeah.
but
Looks
the
like-
sidewalk project, our contract with VS Engineering covers design 58,000, road acquisition 84,000, construction, inspection 58,000, letting scheduled for September 2024. Total project cost with construction estimated 635,000, all funded 80% grant, 20% local, and it'll be a mile of new sidewalk from down Hamilton and Water Street to the Mill Pond. Cool. I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consulting contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, consider contract for engineering services for Bridge 97. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, this is a $248,000 PE contract for bridge number 97, which is on 50 East, over the Kankakee River on the southern part of the county. And that would be for the engineering and right-of-way services with United Consulting. It has been approved by Mr. Shaw.
Yes, I've reviewed it, and I believe the committee made the recommendation, the evaluation committee, so we are recommending approval of this contract.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract for engineering services for Bridge 97. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, recognize benefits agents of record recommendation on guaranteed interest rates regarding county fixed personnel fixed annuity 457 plan. Barb Mossman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nationwide, our 457 deferred compensation plan was making a change to their guaranteed minimum interest rate, and based on the recommendation from our account representative, which is the benefits agent of record, we are now moving forward with the change in what that interest rate is and disbursements to employees that have that fixed account. It just required a signature for that amendment to that contract.
As Ms. Mossman indicates, we vetted it past the county benefits manager, Dan Todd, General Insurance, and he's recommended this particular option as well.
Okay. I had a question, Ms. Mossman. So, what was the rate before, and what will be the rate moving forward?
The rate in moving forward, one second, please. The option that we are going to be going with, the guaranteed minimum interest rate, is going to be at 2.5% with minimum gross credit rating of 3.28%. And this will allow our employees to have an exchange or transfer limit of 40% annually. The interest rate will stay the same over the next 2 years, it looks like, but the minimum gross credit rating is going to have a slight decrease in what that rating will be. As of right now, I do not have the information from what that rate is currently at.
Okay, oh, that's fine. All right, thank you very much. Madam President, I make a motion to go ahead and accept the recommendation of GIS and move forward with this change.
I'll second the motion and mention also that it's today's Barb's birthday.
Happy birthday, Barb.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation on guaranteed interest rates regarding the county personnel fixed annuity plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, conduct public hearing on proposed build, operate, transfer agreement between the Board of Commissioners and the successful RFP respondent JBC Rail Services for construction of rail connection at Kingsbury Industrial Park and to provide switcher services to be paid for by a state grant. Mr. Reardon, I believe you're here to present.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. I just want to give you a little background on how we got here today. On or about summer of 2018, the county commissioners exercised their authority in holding a previous development accountable by taking control and ownership of rights of way and improvements made at the Kingsbury Industrial Park. And for those listening, those are rail lines that are within this park. The Kingsbury Industrial Park is approximately 8,000 acres of the former armory, and there are several different types of businesses out there at this time, as well as farming operations. That area is part of an area designated by the county as an economic development target area. It's an economic development TIF area as well. Part and parcel to that, our group has been working towards continued development operations at that location. As a result of that, and once the county took title to this improvement, we went hard after a Indiana Economic Development Corporation grant to help fund the infrastructure at this location, the further improvement of rail. On or about summertime or July 2019, we've received notification from IDC that we received a $1 million grant to continue building and development of rail opportunities at the Kingsbury Industrial Park. While it seems like it was a bit of time gap, there was a lot of work that went underneath moving that from July 2019 to a date where we submitted a request for proposal. Now, these operations and these discussions have been under the purview of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission and our rail committee. So we've had several sets of eyes on these activities as we've gone through the process. August 1st, 2020, we issued a request for proposals for construction and switching operations at the Kingsbury Industrial Park for the rails, lines, and the rights of way that the county now owns. On August 21st, there was a submittal made by JBC Rail, who, for those familiar with what goes on at Kingsbury Industrial Park, they're not only a significant investor and property owner in that area, they've been working in cooperation with Mr. Davies and his company out there for quite some time. To round that out, we did receive inquiries about this request for proposal. After staff review in coordination with the Office of Economic Development, it was determined that and recommended by the Redevelopment Commission that JBC Rail be selected for that. We had our crack legal team from Barnes and Thornburg and Phil Facenda putting together that contract that you have before you today, and I'm recommending that the commissioners move forward with that contract in its current form and fashion. We do have some odds and ends to clear up as we get final numbers in, but I think this is important. One, this has been a long process that these commissioners have been fighting for, not only the Redevelopment Commission, but this commission and the council. And number two, the funding that we've received is reimbursable. So we have a private sector entity that was going to put their time and their money on the line and work with us in a fashion so that they be reimbursed by state grant funds, not LaPorte County funds. If there's any questions about the legal ramifications of the document, we have Phil Facenda here and, of course, Attorney Freeman that can address that.
One of the things I should mention, too, this gets us that much closer to the long-held dream and plan of this commission to finally get connections of Kingsbury Industrial Park to two major Class 1 rail carriers that near the park, CN on the north and CSX on the south. So this has been something that commissioners and council have been working on for years. We're finally there on the cusp, and it's exciting to be at this point. And so I think we're all very enthused about being able to bring you this proposed agreement today.
Right. This is great news for anyone who's followed this or visited KIP. You know this has been a long haul, but we're delighted to see it at this stage. So we're conducting a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this at this time? Are there any members of the public or anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak on this proposal at this time? Any member of the public, last call, who wishes to speak on the proposed build, operate, transfer agreement between the Board of Commissioners and JBC Rail Services? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Are there any members of the public or online? I know Joey's on that would like to speak on this agreement. Ms. Winsky, do you have anything you'd like to say? It has to do with finances, so I know you have something to say.
No, this is a long time coming for all of us, so
yeah.
It's well accepted by all of us, I think.
Thank you.
Madam President, all I want to say is that ever since I've been on this commission, this has been a key priority to get KIP connected to two Class 1 rail carriers. And there were so many hurdles that came across. And then we kept going one after another. And then thanks to the effort of our economic development team and our elected officials, I think we have ultimately gotten there. And I also want to thank the IEDC for stepping up and giving a $1 million grant. And Mr. Schellinger was very, very supportive. And so I want to publicly express my gratitude to him for getting this done.
So I think this is an example of focused, collaborative effort between the Redevelopment Commission and this commission and the County Council. Because without that, and some of the hurdles were different over the years, differences of opinion. So we all got on the same page, and this was a collaborative effort. So Matt and Tony deserve special thanks, and Bailey, of course, for the work that they've done through the economic development team, and we are most appreciative. I think the significance of this, when you're a member of the public, all of this gibberish might not make a whole lot of sense, but what this does is it makes the site much more attractive for economic development investment, and economic development investment equals jobs for our families. So jobs for LaPorte County families are the whole focus of this collaborative effort. So we have a motion. Do we have a second on the agreement?
We have a second, and
Okay.
I wanted to add that this is a project that I've been involved in for 14 years. It's good to see Phil Facenda here this morning, Doug Davey, Jim Carroll. A lot of meetings at their place. They had a lot of donuts out there, and I knew we'd get to this point sooner or later. We're inch at a time, but we're getting there. And I tell you, it is due to the tenacious efforts of Matt Reardon, who just won't let it go down. We're going to make this thing happen, and I'm really happy to see this part of it. So I will gladly second your motion, sir.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the proposed build, operate, transfer agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider favorable recommendation for Love's.
Madam President,
Yes.
We finished the public hearing. I think Mr. Facenda wanted to probably make some comments on yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cora. I think I'm here for the gibberish portion. Just actually, the line item that is 2 items from here is the resolution,
yes,
which is essentially just the resolution of the commissioners approving the agreement itself,
right,
and the process. So as Matt Reardon pointed out, we went through the build, operate, transfer statute and followed that, which resulted in a public hearing today, provided our notices in our 2 remaining papers, and wanted to point out to you that the agreement does cover both switching services and construction, and that the switching services will be for a period of 5 years, and it can be renewed. Also, the provider will be responsible for putting together a rate tariff for users, and that will be approved by the county prior to implementation. So there are additional revenues coming the way of the county as part of the agreement as well. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. Any additional questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your efforts.
Absolutely.
We should probably recognize on the record the fact the presence of both Jim Carroll and Kim McDowell from JBC Rail are here, and are certainly good collaborative partners with the county in this effort, and I certainly wanted to recognize them on the record.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate you being here.
Okay.
Shall we just move the resolution up from ahead of item F so that we can stay on topic?
Yes.
Any objections to that?
No.
Okay. We're going to change the order on the agenda so we can consider the resolution awarding the build, operate, transfer agreement to JBC Rail Services. As Mr. Facenda, do you have anything you'd like to add? Or
Nothing additional.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, I make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution awarding the build, transfer, operate, transfer agreement to JBC Rail Services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion has carried. Thank you so much, and we appreciate all your effort in our community. Thank you. Thanks. Next on the agenda, consider favorable recommendation for Love's Travel Shops. Mr. Reardon? You're up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's a good day in economic development. I'm here to discuss briefly the request for approval from Love's Truck Stop. They appeared before the Plan Commission. I believe we're on final approval of that project. And just to highlight, that project is the impetus for the extension of the water and sewer from Michigan City out to 421 and 94, another project that the Redevelopment Commission has been working on for quite some time. We're coming to a collaborative end to that with the use of some tax increment financing, private dollars, and assistance from Michigan City Water and Sanitary to move that forward. The project is out for bid, so we're going to understand exactly what the extension of the utilities cost. A tip of the cap to the good people of Loves, who diligently worked through a very substantive issue regarding a pipeline. And over 1.5 years of deliberative effort by them and others and the developer, they came to a resolution. So if you think railroads are tough to deal with, the pipelines are right up there with them. And I'm not sure if Frank Illy is on Zoom to cover any questions that you might have about it, but I know that the Plan Commission approved this site plan, and Mitch Bishop, the county planner, is on board.
I'm here.
Oh, here he is.
Good morning. Would you like to contribute anything or have any comments to make, sir?
Just to tell you all that we are excited to be working with the county and excited about this project. We've been trying to fill a gap in our network of stores for quite some time between Gary, Indiana, and Marshall, Michigan. And we are extremely excited about this location, and we appreciate Matt and the county working with us to get through two pretty significant issues here. One is water and sewer. The sellers helped us with the wetlands situation, and then we appreciate the pipeline working with us. So three significant issues that I've spent a couple years working on, and I'm glad to see we've at least got to this point now. So this project will be about a $16 to $18 million project. It'll be 50 to 60 new full-time jobs, and hopefully be really good for the county as well as good for us.
Great. Madam President, I had a comment. Our focus on economic development continues one after another. We are bringing up these different development projects, and I again want to thank our economic development team. We have been working on this at the Redevelopment Commission for the past several months, and I'm glad it's also coming to fruition. So I'll be happy to make a motion to support this plan for Love's Travel Shops.
Yeah, it seems like longer than a year and a half we've been working on this. It's like one thing after another, but Matt's right. There's been a lot of little impediments along the way. I'm glad to see this happen. And like I said earlier on the Plan Commission, if they don't do it here, they're going to do it someplace else. So it'd be a competitor. And I'm really happy to get it to this point. So I'll second your motion, sir.
We have a motion and a second before we vote. I think we can't underscore the amount of investment and the amount of jobs. 16 to 18 million is significant in LaPorte County, and 15 jobs for 15 families is also truly significant. So thank you for your investment and your faith in us. Even though there were hurdles, you did not, you didn't move elsewhere and look somewhere else. You stuck with LaPorte County, and we appreciate that. All those in favor of the recommendation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda, consider authorizing the submission by EMA for County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan Grant. Mr. Butcher?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. I have forwarded this grant to Attorney Freeman for his review. This is a grant that is imperative. It's every 5 years. It is an in-kind grant of $5,500. But the state has allowed us to do in-kind, and I'm pretty sure, or almost positive, that I will meet the in-kind part of it using the federal guidelines to do so. The last time we did this, I think I ended up having to spend $900 of $17,000 grant, which I thought was pretty good. But now I'm a little more well versed on how to use the how to use the product and get us to where we don't have to pay anything. But if we don't do it, then the county's not eligible for any grant funds from the state.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to consider this authorizing?
Do you have any comments?
Sure. Just not only has, I should note parenthetically that not only has Mr. Butcher been absolutely tenacious in landing PPE and supplies and material for us during this pandemic, he is equally tenacious in going after grant funds. And we've reviewed this and are certainly comfortable recommending it to you at this time.
Madam President, I make a motion to support this multi-hazard mitigation plan grant that's being submitted by our EMA.
I'll second your motion.
We have a motion and a second. Before I call for the question, you forgot to mention that that PPE was free. talk about tenacious. When it comes to saving the taxpayer dollars, Director Butcher has been truly tenacious. He has gotten left no stone unturned in trying to figure out ways to bring home the bacon at no cost to the taxpayer.
And I should note, and I know the Commission has observed this before, he's also been our prime advocate in terms of the optimum testing sites and seeking to ensure that there'll be a site in Michigan City and that's provided. And so I would note that as well on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the submission by Director Butcher for the multi-hazard mitigation planning grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider contract renewals for building maintenance for the 2021 year. I don't know if anyone is here. Okay. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Sims, the office manager for facilities, and Larry, the director, would like to apologize for not being here this time.
May we put this on our agenda for the future, or?
At this point, we're able to recommend, essentially it's all the different categories. Most of them are renewals other than Republic Supplies, and we've also looked at that particular contract and are comfortable with it. So we are comfortable recommending approval of all the maintenance department contracts to you.
And these are all the previous ones?
Yes.
These are renewals?
Strictly renewals, no substantive change in terms of pricing. And the Republic Services one was the only one added, and we're also comfortable with that.
Okay.
Madam President, I make a motion to go ahead and support contract renewals for the building maintenance for 2021.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. One of the things we need to call out is Mr. Lewandowski and his team at facilities have gone above and beyond to make sure that they are shopping smart. They also try to use local goods and services whenever possible. And Larry has our ultimate confidence in making sure that taxpayer dollars are used well by building maintenance. So with that, we have a motion and a second to consider contract renewals by building maintenance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, consider engagement of DLZ to conduct CARES Act study of county buildings for ventilation improvements that will prevent or reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus and be reimbursable by the CARES Act funding.
Yes, Madam President, members of the Commission, you'll recall that we brought DLZ to your attention a couple of weeks ago when we learned of the extraordinary success they've had in identifying $2.5 million in ventilation system improvements for the St. Joseph County Jail that will be fully reimbursable by the Governor's CARES Act Committee. Like us, DLZ and St. Joseph County are also working with Jake Tremont at Barnes & Thornburg, who is working closely with the key players on the CARES Act Committee. Before you is our recommendation to consider the engagement of DLZ at a fee of $60,000 that would be fully reimbursable from the CARES Act to conduct an immediate assessment of buildings listed in the A column, which will include Brown Mackey, regarding any ventilation and other improvements that will be covered under CARES Act funds. Again, that retainer would be fully reimbursable. The second document provides for a possible amendment to the contract, allowing up to $150,000 in assessment evaluation time if the work on the A category buildings proceeds quickly enough so they can then move to the B buildings. Problem, as you all know, we're under a strict deadline. All the CARES Act submissions have to be made by December 30th, otherwise that money is gone. As we have said for months, we have $3.6 million allocated to LaPorte County in CARES Act funds that need to be submitted and claimed for either in payroll, capital expenditures, equipment, PPE, and the like before December 30th. Otherwise, those funds will revert to the State General Fund. It behooves us to get every improvement we can covered by these funds, since they are legitimately related to try to prevent the further spread of the virus. I believe Mr. Zazorski, or Joe Z as he's known, is on Zoom with us. He's Chief Operating Officer of DLZ, and I think he can address any questions that the Commission might have about this particular engagement.
Thank you. Joe, do you have anything you'd like to contribute, or do you?
No, Sean pretty much went through it all. We've been working with St. Joe County not only on the jail project, but also on building assessments similar to what you've got here. And because of that short time frame, we went with the Group A, which is high public, and we specifically know you wanted to focus on ventilation, and we've got a lot of research done from the other counties that we've done. We've done Marshall and LaGrange And there are some products out there that once we get through that Group A, we want to come in, talk to you, and maybe even pre-purchase. And we talked to Shaw, Attorney Shaw there, to possibly do an emergency action so that you can preclude the 28 bid day procurement process and get into an emergency process where you can pre-purchase, maybe sole source if there's product availability that, and also get a 2-week quote period. So, we need to move fast because this date is approaching, and it looks like Congress is not going to extend the dates. So, we've got a tight time frame. And then, like Shaw said, if we can get through the Category 1 systematic building reviews in Group A buildings, then we can come to you and ask for additional services, which will be pre-approved because Barnes & Thornburg is working very closely with the IFA and going over there and getting things pre-approved so you know that these are reimbursable items. We can get into the Group B buildings.
Right.
So if you got any other questions, I also have my chief architect on the line that can kind of share some of the information on the types of touchless products or the air ionization ventilation systems that we're considering here. But we appreciate the opportunity here, and we're going to work fast, and we're going to have to work with your building maintenance department real closely here in the next several weeks if you go ahead and execute this contract. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. For the public record, Group A building, which is the priority buildings, are the courthouse in LaPorte, the complex and the jail in LaPorte, the Hyler building in LaPorte, the juvenile center in LaPorte, community corrections LaPorte, Monroe building LaPorte, the Brown Mackey building in Michigan City, and the 8th Street offices in Michigan City are in the first group to be looked at.
Madam President, with the COVID situation, initially, several months ago, most of us thought that it was spread by droplets, which is true. But in addition, there is general consensus it is more airborne transmission now. And so that's the reason why having proper ventilation systems to prevent spread of these infections, I think will be very helpful. It'll keep our staff safe, and through the CARES Act, these things can be done at no cost to the county. So I think it's a good idea. I make a motion that we move forward with engaging DLZ to go ahead and do this study.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah. The presentation that I listened to last week on Zoom, and I sent you guys an email on it from Jake German and Johnson Controls. We're doing a great job with plexiglass masks and gloves and hand sanitizer. They stressed how important it is to get your ventilation systems checked out. So something very important. Good to see you this morning, Josie. Been a while. Yeah, I would second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to engage DLZ to conduct CARES Act study of the county buildings for ventilation improvements. Especially notable that this is reimbursable by the CARES Act fund, which is on deadline, so we need to move swiftly. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
A motion has been approved. Next on the agenda, consider authorizing purchase of warehouse at a price of $185,000 at 507 Monroe Street for safe, secure storage of PPE and emergency equipment, conditioned on obtaining written or verbal approval from the Governor's CARES Act Committee for use of CARES Fund to cover this expenditure. Mr. Friedman?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the Commission. This particular warehouse at 507 Monroe Street was identified first both by our Facilities Director, Larry Lewandowski, and our County Council President, Randy Novak, as an ideal location, a clean, dry storage area for PPE and other emergency equipment, and potentially even the future home of the maintenance department. Yes, heating and air will need to be added, and that heating and air, estimated at $30,000 to $35,000, would also be submitted for coverage by the CARES Act in order to properly temperature control this particular warehouse. the acquisition would not go forward. And what you've got in front of you is a proposed purchase agreement that is expressly conditioned on getting an advisory, either in verbal or written form, from the CARES Act committee that all of the acquisition costs will be covered by the CARES Act. Furthermore, under the public health emergency statutes, the normal appraisal requirements can be waived, and you're going to see that in the resolution that comes before you here shortly, since there is a demonstrated public health and safety need to acquire this building. As has been mentioned at previous commission meetings, unfortunately, the county lost 2,000 N95 masks because they were not stored in an area that was able to properly preserve them. This equipment is, as you all know, too expensive, too valuable to have anywhere that it cannot be properly, safely stored and secured. So our facilities director, as you all know, and you've commented on this, has done a Herculean job throughout this pandemic of identifying things that we can do to help protect both patrons as well as employees. He feels strongly about the merits of this particular building with its loading dock, ample storage and parking. It is just 2 blocks from the courthouse. And so we are asking for authority to move forward with the purchase agreement that is expressly conditioned on CARES Act approval by the Governor's Committee.
In addition, I know Mr. Butcher is still on the line, but one of the other things that's been remarkable, talk about the efforts of our county team, but currently PPE is stored in conference rooms and on chairs next to desks and in closets, and I know Mr. Butcher and his team have done a great job of trying to make sure that everyone has what they need, but how great it would be to keep everything not only in the perfect condition, but also indexed so that it's we know what we have. We can develop a system to make sure that we're processing things correctly. So, Director Butcher,
if I can add to that,
yes,
Commissioner, the location that we're at right now, I have over 90,000 pieces of PPE, and when the winter comes and the moisture starts to go under the cracks of the building that I'm in, under the door, I'm really concerned about the mask and things that have paper value getting mildewed, and it is just imperative. I can't tell you how imperative it is that we have a place to store this stuff pretty quick.
Thank you,
Madam President. I think the thought of getting a place to store PPE is good, and getting it covered through the Governor's CARES Act is good. I think if I have some concern, it's about the price, and I know it's being covered by the Governor's CARES Act, and it's not being covered by the county taxpayers. But my suggestion is that we table this and just go back and see if we can get a better price for this one.
And let me address that, if I could, maybe help ease your concerns. Yeah. The owner of the building has taken it off the market and had a prospective buyer at potentially even at 196.
Okay.
Because I've had a long-time relationship with Mr. Bunce, I have said, look, the county is very interested in this site. One of the assurances that I gave him is that we would bring this to you for consideration today. I think it's also important to understand that the appraisal that was done, the appraisals that have been done in the 140, 145 range, are done with the normal commercial valuation. This is a separate kind of valuation that is used for a building for public health and safety. And so you'll note that both state and local government have had to acquire various supplies and equipment that may well exceed normal market conditions because of the pandemic. And I guess I would urge the Commission to view this in the same light. This is not viewed in the normal commercial valuation. And so that's why and explicitly the resolution talks about the ability to waive normal commercial valuation requirements during a public health emergency. And I've gotten him as far as I can get him. He was at 196. He agreed to come down to 185. This is a unique opportunity. We have explored other buildings in the downtown area, and it's a unique opportunity to pick up a really quality warehouse. And I'll have, if I could, maybe Mr. Novak, if he's on the line, can address it as well, because I know he is equally just as enthused about the location as Mr. Lewandowski.
Mr. Novak, are you on? I don't think he's.
Okay.
I don't think he's.
He and I spoke this morning.
Right.
And again, I think he had spoken to one or two councilmen about the same concern, Dr. Cora, because as you know, Randy Novak is a commercial realtor. He understands values and everything else, but we're really trying to look at this particular location outside of the normal commercial valuation and look at it with a public health and safety valuation. And so, that's really how I would ask the commission to consider it.
So, in addition, we need to make sure that we highlight the fact that this pending approval, pending motion, would be conditioned on obtaining written or verbal approval from the CARES Act committee in the governor's office for use of these funds to cover this expenditure. In addition, I think the reuse, once the pandemic, 5 years down the road, the pandemic is past, we have a good vaccine, we don't need it for PPE anymore. It does have positive reuse value. Mr. Lewandowski, who we all have great faith in, has a contract manager, construction management background, and he has gone through that building and really, he convinced me, because I was with you, Dr. Cora. Why do we need an old warehouse to store masks? Was how it sounded to me, and after discussing it with him, the quality of the building, the need for PPE protection, which Mr. Butcher just reiterated, makes this much more palatable for me to vote for. So I just share that perspective with you. We also are on a time constraint.
I wanted to ask you about
that
what
December
is the time
deadline
constraint?
We've got to get submission to the CARES Act committee. Obviously, anything, the expenditure, we've got a purchase agreement in front of you that requires closing by November 13th.
Yeah.
So he's agreed to hold off. There's a $5,000 down payment that would also be fully refundable. Mr. Bunce, I would say this: he is very community-minded. He's doing some other developments in the community, and I appreciated his willingness to consider even lowering it from the amount that he was talking to this other prospective purchaser with. We're going to know up or down by November 13th whether this is a go, because we've got to have full CARES Act submission. I would also note, too, this commission, all three of you have talked about the importance of getting our federal dollars back and putting them to use for LaPorte County. We don't want, I know this commission doesn't want to expend any local tax dollars in this expenditure. This would simply be a process of trying to bring back federal dollars that you've already sent to Washington and to get back the full claim. We've talked for months about the fact there's $3.6 million allocated to LaPorte County. Those certain counties like St. Joe County have taken a lead in trying to get back as much money that's allocated so that we leave no money on the table. And I think that's part of the kind of the urgency in having this before you today.
Commissioner Rosinski, what is your feeling about this?
Yeah, when I heard what Mr. Haney had to say about the price difference, and it reminded me of back when we bought the Hyler building, which, if you would check the record, I was the only councilman at the time who voted against that. But I said it's going to be a money pit, because the price originally had been escalated a lot when we finally bought it. We paid more than they had been asking for it, and I kind of sensed that was going on here. I would ask, since it's not climate controlled and we have to pay for that anyway, we have buildings at the fairgrounds. Maybe we could use one of the buildings at the fairgrounds, and if it's not climate controlled, we're going to buy that anyway, buy it for our own building that we already have. And I would point out too that I've only brought this up about 12 times, maybe 15. We could have bought the Harold Argus building or anything, which is huge, and it would be hooked right onto the Hyler. I don't know. I haven't seen this building. I don't know. It looks old, and I am concerned about the price.
Madam President, I know there is some time constraint, but I'd like to table this till the next meeting, and that'll give some time to do a little bit more of due diligence and take a look at it, and then we can bring it.
And that's fine. We certainly, you can have the purchase agreement. We'll hold on that. And frankly, I wasn't sure until last night whether to even have a completed purchase agreement to bring to you till today. The realtor did a nice job of turning it around. This way it gives you, anyone who has not seen it, any members of the council or otherwise, can get an opportunity to visit it. Keep in mind too, I think the long-term hope is to be able to move the maintenance department there, have ample parking. Ultimately, this commission and the council have talked about central purchasing.
Yes.
And it would be an ideal setting for that as well. So keep in mind, this may be a multi-use. I mean, we have to pitch it, of course, to the CARES Act Committee for PPE storage and of equipment, but there is ample 2 floors, loading dock, ample parking, and with it being two blocks away from the courthouse, it really provides potentially a very good area for maintenance. But
thank you.
So that's Madam President, I make a motion to table this, and that'll give us a little bit more time to do due diligence and visit the place, and then we can consider it at our next meeting.
I'd second your motion, and if we can get a chance to go look at it, I would go.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to table this purchase. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It'll be considered on our next agenda. Next on the agenda, consider resolution approving COVID-related assembly and study of needed ventilation equipment and purchases of equipment and supplies to reduce COVID transmission risk, and to authorize acquisition of the warehouse for PPE supplies, emergency equipment, all reimbursable under the CARES Act. So shall we divide that?
we still need you to consider that, because this provides the statutory underpinning for anything that you're seeking to do, both with the assessment of buildings and any potential purchase. In order to move forward with the COVID-related study, assessment of various county buildings, and any recommended acquisition of ventilation equipment, touchless switches, panels, as well as formally authorizing potential acquisition of 507 Monroe, we need to have you adopt the enclosed resolution. After you engage DLZ, this was patterned somewhat on what St. Joseph County adopted, but modified to fit our situation and to potentially permit the warehouse facility acquisition. It provides the statutory basis for not only waiving acquisition statutes for purposes of sole source supplies or anything else that you may need to do, but potentially authorizing the acquisition of this facility. The statute specifically, the public health emergency statute specifically allows you to waive appraisal requirements in the event a facility is being acquired for a public health emergency. So that's why it's brought in under this particular resolution, but we'd ask you to consider the resolution, which at least gives you the flexibility going forward on these other areas.
I agree, Madam President, and especially with what we have done with DLZ, there may be a need to get some ventilation equipment, so I make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to consider the resolution approving COVID-related assessment study of needed ventilation equipment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda, we have the resolution to consider leasing vehicles for community corrections. Dr. Cora?
No, this is for adult protective services.
Oh, adult protective services.
Adult protective services, yeah. So I think adult protective services usually leases these vehicles, and it's covered by funding from a state grant, and it doesn't come from the county funds. And they use these vehicles to go and visit places and take care of people who are in need. And we have been doing this for a long time. So I make a motion to go ahead and support this.
Yeah, I actually went out to the highway garage and looked at their old vehicle. I wouldn't get in it. It was about to fall apart. It could have been very dangerous. It hit a pothole. Not that we have any, but it was bad. In fact, it was such a situation where they needed to deliver the meals out there, and they didn't have a van. So I actually called over to Juvenile Center, and they let us borrow that van for a little while. But you're right, we need to get in. I'm glad to see that they are leasing, saving the county money by leasing. That's a smart move. So I would second your motion, sir.
We have a motion and a second to approve the leasing of vehicles for adult protective services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Next on the agenda, Commissioners' comments. Commissioner Mrzinski.
Yeah, two quick things. Received this invitation. I assume you guys, I don't know if you went or not, to this past Sunday for the grand opening of the circa 1856 on Johnson Road. Yeah. Did you go?
I could not.
It's pretty cool. And there is a need in the county for more festival, reception, rental halls like that. It is really quite over the top. I was really impressed. That's going to be a great addition to the county. I've been on the Zoom calls every week here on the Tuesday morning at 10, Zoom calls for the move from the courthouse to the Brown-Mackey building. I just wanted to point out, being part of that process, the outstanding work from Larry Lewandowski and the whole maintenance department.
Yes.
They've really been, they're busting it. They really are. Darlene Hale with the IT department, they've been running ragged. It's been hard to get a hold of Darlene the last few days, but she and all of her people been really putting in a lot of hours. And Joey Winsky, who of course had her finger on the pulse, being the making sure everything got done and done right. And I have to point out the work done by our administrative specialist, Diane Gonzalez, not only doing her job here, helping with the courthouse move and with the Brown-Mackey building, and helping out with early voting, and helping out with the polling locations, even cleaning the old library at Cool Spring. I don't know how one person does it all, but she is definitely the Energizer Bunny, the glue that keeps us together.
Yeah.
And I had to mention that. Other than that, I have nothing else to add.
I think we all agree with you on that last point. Diane is a golden diamond.
Thank you.
Dr. Cora?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo what Commissioner Brzezinski said about our staff. Outstanding. I thank you all for everything you do. There's so many things going on, and everything has come together nicely. I want to thank the Election Board for moving forward with the two early voting sites, and we can see how many people are there voting early, and that's very beneficial, and that'll also prevent a lot of people from going to the polls on election day in large numbers, and hopefully that'll help cut down the COVID numbers. Unfortunately, our COVID numbers have gone up over the last 1 week after the stage 5 reopening that the states implemented. Even though there are a lot of people in our county who are taking this seriously, some are not. So I urge everyone, please take this seriously. We are not done with this yet. We have always advocated for the 4 pillars, that is wear a mask, a social distance, hand hygiene, and also monitoring symptoms and checking the temperature. So I think we'll continue doing that, and we want to do our best to keep our numbers down. But unfortunately, the state numbers are going up, and so also our numbers in our county have started going up after the stage 5 reopening. I also want to thank our economic development team. We have so many agenda items today about economic development, bringing new businesses, including Corsicana, that we did with 350 new jobs. And then also one of the positive things this past week was the request for proposal for a housing study, because in the Vibrant Communities Initiative, when we met, almost 1,000 people across the county participated in that, and they identified housing as an important priority. New housing for different economic groups and different demographic groups, different age groups. So I think that'll be a good thing, because as more and more people are moving out of the larger urban centers, I think we should be well positioned to take advantage of that, and especially with the double tracking of the South Shore. I think having a housing study and then encouraging new housing to be built, that way people who are moving away from the large urban centers and who work in our community will be encouraged to move to LaPorte County. And it's the people who make all the difference. And if we can attract good, talented people into a community, I think we'll do well as a community. And Madam President, I also want to thank you for your leadership on broadband. Every time I see Bailey, she keeps sharing with me the number of people who are on our website, and it's amazing how many people visit our website to get information on various things, but especially with the COVID situation. So with that, Madam President, I'll conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive, Dr. Cora, into the website and some of the other things. The website, which timing is everything. We kicked it off on March 4th, 2020. To date, we have had 564,870 visitors to our page. The unique views are 431,000. So that's 431 citizens or visitors or investors or our young people who spent some time on our web page. Interesting, we have been really focused on making sure that it's informative and it stays current, and I give Bailey and Darlene a ton of credit for making sure that it stays really vital and current. The COVID-19 information has been visited 130,000 times, and with 205 unique views, so that means 100,000 people came at least once to our page and spent some time looking at the COVID data, which means that the website is doing exactly what we intended. It wasn't just to look pretty, which it does look pretty, I must say, but it also is full of really great information. There's a department directory that gets a lot of hits. The assessor's page gets a lot of hits. Online payments, 14,000 people use that. County treasurer, 13,000. So, suffice it to say, if we've served 564,000 people with our website and our information, we have done a remarkable job on making sure that that's a service for our community. And certainly it needed to be updated, but it also is servicing people with good information. Dr. Cora, you mentioned the economic development effort, and Matt and Tony and Bailey are here, so I think it's time for us to give them their due. We have found $500,000 from the state for small business grants. That's hugely significant. We went after the first 250, and then we got the second 250, which is in process. And applications are online, so people need to, small businesses in LaPorte County can apply for money. Last round, we helped 29 businesses retain 150 jobs in our county. Our broadband task force is seeing some really good success. Surf Broadband on Joliet Road, they're out in KIP hooking up commercial customers. We're working with South LaPorte County School District on a connectivity grant. Acme Communication is doing some extensions, Johnson Road and North LaPorte County. And then we are working with REMC on some additional broadband support for rural areas. So I think we have to really call out the extraordinary effort. We're a small but mighty team, and I really give our staff credit for a lot of the work that's been done. But also our commercial citizens, our corporate citizens, have seen that our community needs this investment in connectivity, and they're making that investment on. Obviously it's a business case for them, but for our community it's significant. We have lots more to do, but we are making progress. This last month, the town of Westville established an economic revitalization area, and they are getting new investment of $2.5 million in a Pet Hero vet clinic, which will bring 20 new full-time jobs to Westville. So every time you hear the word jobs, even if it's 10 jobs or 15 jobs or 20 jobs, those jobs add up because they affect real LaPorte County families. That's 20 families that will have new jobs. Dr. Cora mentioned the 350 new jobs at Corsicana Mattress Company, which will be coming to LaPorte County shortly. It was approved by the council. After our initial approval, they approved it on Monday evening. And then going back to the Midwest Trade Center in Westville, where you see our anchor tenant is Dollar General. When we did the ribbon cutting and we welcomed them to our community, they projected 80 new jobs. They are now up to 190 plus new jobs in Westville at the Midwest Trade Center. So that's 190 families, LaPorte County or even in the region, who have been positively affected by gaining jobs. So nothing's more important to a family than a paycheck. It keeps kids fed and clothed and food on the table for everyone. So I just want to commend our team and all the county employees who have assisted them to make these good jobs happen. So thank you. With that,
tomorrow is the tax sale.
Oh, tax sale.
And all the information's on our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.